Hi everyone, welcome back to our YouTube channel. Today we have a fascinating comparison that spans decades of armored warfare history. The legendary T-34 versus the iconic T-72. These two tanks are separated by generations, yet each has made a significant impact on battlefield tactics and tank development. Let's dive deep into their design, performance, firepower, armor, mobility, and the role they played in shaping armored warfare. The T-34, developed by the Soviet Union during the late 1930s and entering production in 1940, is often hailed as one of the most revolutionary tanks of World War II. It introduced sloped armor, which greatly increased effective thickness without adding extra weight, and combined that with a powerful 76.2 mm gun in its early variants. The T-34's combination of firepower, protection, and mobility was unmatched at its time, allowing it to outmaneuver and outgun many German tanks during the early years of the war. Its wide tracks also allowed it to traverse rough terrain, snow and mud with relative ease, giving the Red Army a decisive tactical advantage on the Eastern Front. On the other hand, the T-72, which entered service in the early 1970s, represents a significant leap in tank technology, designed to replace older Soviet designs like the T-55 and complement the T-64. The T-72 was built for the Cold War battlefield. It featured a 125mm smoothbore gun capable of firing APF SDS and heat rounds, giving it tremendous armor penetration capability. Unlike the T-34, the T-72 was equipped with modern fire control systems, including a laser rangefinder and night vision optics in later variants, allowing for greater accuracy and effectiveness at longer ranges. Its armor was also a considerable improvement over earlier designs, incorporating composited materials and reactive armor, in some versions giving it substantial protection against modern anti-tank munitions. When comparing mobility, both tanks excelled in their respective eras. The T-34 relied on its Christie suspension and wide tracks to maintain speed and maneuverability across difficult terrain. It had a top speed of around 53 kilometers per h on road, and was highly reliable, which contributed to its legendary status. The T-72, while heavier at roughly 41 tons, compared to the T-34's 26-30 tons depending on variant, was still highly mobile for a main battle tank of its era. Its V12 diesel engine provided around 780 horsepower, allowing speeds up to 60 kilometers per h on roads, and it had advanced torsion bar suspension for off-road mobility. The T-72's smaller profile compared to Western tanks also made it a harder target on the battlefield. In terms of firepower, the difference between the two is striking. The T-34's original 76.2 mm gun was formidable during World War II, able to penetrate the armor of early German tanks such as the Panzer III and early Panzer IV variants. Later models like the T-34-85 upgraded to an 85 mm gun to tackle heavier German tanks like the Tiger I and Panther. The T-72, however, carries a massive 125 mm smoothbore gun capable of defeating modern main battle tanks of the Cold War era. In addition, the T-72 can launch guided missiles through its main gun, a capability unimaginable in the T-34's time. This illustrates the evolution of tank firepower over 3 decades. Armor protection is another area where the contrast is clear. The T-34's sloped armor was revolutionary in its era, providing excellent protection against anti-tank rifles and early German artillery. However, it was still vulnerable to heavier German guns as the war progressed. In contrast, the T-72 features layered composite armor and, in many variants, explosive reactive armor, ERA modules designed to counter both kinetic and shaped charge threats. While the T-34 relied on its mobility and sloped armor for survivability, the T-72 combines armor, firepower, and active defense technologies to survive on a modern battlefield, Crew ergonomics and design philosophy also highlight the differences between the two tanks. The T-34 was designed for mass production and simplicity. It had a three-man crew in early versions, with the commander often having to double as a gunner and loader, which could be exhausting and inefficient in combat. Despite this, its robust design allowed the Soviet Union to produce thousands of units rapidly, overwhelming German forces with sheer numbers. The T-72, in contrast, was designed with a smaller crew of three, but with an autoloader border for its main gun, reducing crew fatigue and allowing for a more compact turret design. While this increased operational efficiency, it also introduced risks, as ammunition stored in the autoloader carousel could cause catastrophic explosions if penetrated. Historically, the T-34 changed the face of armored warfare during World War II. It proved that a well-designed medium tank could dominate the battlefield, influencing tank designs worldwide. Its balance of speed, armor, and firepower set a benchmark for future tanks. The T-72, meanwhile, became the backbone of Soviet and Warsaw Pact armored forces during the Cold War. It was exported widely, seeing action in numerous conflicts around the world, from the Middle East to Africa, and remains in service in several countries today. Both tanks also reflect the strategic doctrines of their respective eras. The T-34 emphasized mass production and overwhelming force, reflecting the Soviet need to compensate for initial technological disadvantages against Germany. The T-72 embodies the Cold War emphasis on technological superiority, combined arms coordination, and the ability to counter NATO armored formations with fewer, more capable tanks. This illustrates how tanks evolve not only with technology but also with strategic thinking. In conclusion, while comparing the T-34 and T-72 may seem like comparing apples and oranges due to the vast difference in eras and technology, it is fascinating to see how armored warfare evolved. The T-34 laid the groundwork with innovative design, mobility, and firepower that dominated World War II battlefields. The T-72 carried this legacy forward, incorporating modern technology, heavy firepower, advanced armor, and battlefield survivability, making it one of the most influential tanks of the Cold War and beyond. Understanding these tanks allows us to appreciate the evolution of armored vehicles, the challenges faced by tank designers across decades, and the strategic thinking that shaped their deployment. Both the T-34 and T-72 hold a special place in military history, representing the ingenuity, adaptability, and enduring legacy of Soviet tank design. Whether you're a history enthusiast, a military technology fan, or simply curious about armored warfare, the story of these tanks provides an incredible journey through decades of innovation and battlefield dominance. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the T-34 and T-72, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos where we explore legendary tanks, aircraft, and military technology. Don't forget to hit the notification bell to stay updated on our latest uploads. Here's a look at their top specifications side by side, showing just how much tank design evolved from World War II to the Cold War. The T-34 weighed around 2630 tons, had a 76.2 mm to 85 mm gun, sloped armor up to 75 mm, and a top speed of 53 kilometers per edge. The T-72, in comparison, weighs around 41 tons, mounts a 125 mm smoothbore gun with autoloader, features composite armor with ERA, and reaches speeds up to 60 kilometers per h. The contrast highlights the advances in firepower, protection, and technology over just a few decades. Ultimately, whether you prefer the historic might of the T-34 or the modern efficiency of the T-72, both tanks demonstrate the ingenuity and determination of Soviet engineers in shaping armored warfare history.